My name is Ethan Moore, and I want to tell you a story I wish I could forget. It's not one of bravery or heroics, it's a tale of fear, of something dark that still haunts my nights. I never believed in the supernatural, not until the events that unfolded in the old house I inherited. It started 3 years ago when my great aunt Eleanor passed away. She was a woman I barely knew, a distant relative who rarely left her home. The family called her eccentric, though others whispered more sinister things about her. I didn't pay much attention. When I was told I'd inherited her estate, it seemed like a blessing. The house was a grand Victorian, isolated on the edge of a small, forgotten town. It had stood there for over a century, its once beautiful exterior now weathered and overrun with ivy. When I arrived, it was nearing dusk, and the fading light painted the house in shades of grey and amber. As I pushed open the heavy oak door, the air inside felt stagnant, heavy with dust and silence. The interior was just as I'd imagined: antique furniture, oil paintings that seemed to watch you, and a chill that seeped into your bones. Yet, among the many strange and fascinating items, one stood out immediately: a glass case in the sitting room. Inside it was a doll. The doll was small, about the size of a child's forearm, and dressed in a faded Victorian gown. Its porcelain face was unnervingly realistic, with eyes that seemed to follow me no matter where I stood. I shuddered but told myself it was just an illusion, a trick of the glass or my imagination. I considered selling it along with the house, but something about it made me pause. Its craftsmanship was exquisite and it seemed valuable. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to keep it for the time being. The first night in the house was uneventful. I explored the creaking corridors, made notes of repairs, and eventually settled in the master bedroom. But as the hours dragged on, I began to notice something strange. It was the faint sound of footsteps, too soft to be my own, echoing down the hall. At first, I dismissed it. Old houses make noises, don't they? Wood settles, pipes creak, it's all normal. But as the night deepened, the footsteps grew louder, closer. I got up, flashlight in hand, and walked the halls. Shadows danced on the walls as my light flickered across the peeling wallpaper. I found nothing. The house was still, empty. When I returned to the sitting room, I froze. The glass case was open. The doll was gone. For a moment, I thought I'd imagined it. Maybe I hadn't latched the case properly. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I searched the room, my pulse racing, but there was no sign of the doll. I felt a chill crawl up my spine, and then I heard it, a soft, high-pitched giggle, like that of a child. The sound came from upstairs. Against my better judgment, I followed it. Each step up the staircase seemed to echo louder than the last, as though the house were amplifying the noise. The giggle came again, leading me toward the attic. The door was slightly ajar, creaking as it swayed. I pushed it open, and my flashlight illuminated a sea of forgotten relics: old trunks, cobwebbed furniture, and dusty mirrors. And there, in the corner, sat the doll. Its porcelain face gleamed in the light, but now its expression seemed different. The once neutral smile had twisted into something cruel, something mocking. I didn't dare touch it. Instead, I backed away and shut the attic door firmly behind me, locking it for good measure. The next day, I called a local antiques dealer, hoping to rid myself of the doll. When I described it, the man's voice grew tense. "Are you sure it's from your great aunt's house?" he asked. "Yes, why?" There was a long pause before he replied. "Your aunt was known for collecting unusual items. People in town used to say she dealt in cursed objects." I laughed nervously, brushing off his words. But as I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that he was right. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house felt alive, its walls groaning and whispering. I kept hearing that same giggle, faint but unmistakable, and the soft patter of footsteps moving through the halls. Around midnight, the noise stopped abruptly. The silence was suffocating. Then, from the corner of my bedroom, I heard a child's voice, soft and sing song. Ethan, come play.